Welcome to our first Content Boost open house. My session is the first of the day. It's Content Marketing 101, back to the basics. And since this is our first open house ever, and I am doing the first session, it's a bit of a historical moment. So if we could all just take a second and kind of acknowledge the history that I'm making today, that would be great. As Carrie said, my name is Eric Lebowitz, and I'm one of Content Boost digital editors. I know that because that's what the name tag says. I am responsible for crafting and conceptualizing original, engaging, SEO-driven content for my clients, and forging relationships with my clients, helping them advance their brand awareness. My background is both in journalism and in development for nonprofits, which is really a great background to have going into content marketing, because it's really about storytelling and about talking across a wide variety of sectors, especially with journalism. So I came in with a great background, and I've really enjoyed the years that I've spent in content marketing. So what is content marketing? It's an integrated marketing strategy that involves crafting and sharing relevant, customized copy to drive profitability and brand awareness. That's the definition that we use here at Content Boost. You'll hear different definitions, slight variations on that definition, maybe different places. But what we really like to talk about here, and it's highlighted obviously for a reason, is that it's integrated. It's not a siloed approach. The idea is to connect a lot of different platforms together to create value for the customer, whether that is linking having a call to action at the bottom of a blog post that links to a white paper or a video. It's about bringing all these different channels together to maximize value. And you can see, and we'll get into this a little bit later, there are some of the platforms, the tactics that you can use. Social media, infographics, blogs, white papers, all that good stuff. So why does content marketing matter, right? I mean, why are we all here to learn about content marketing? Why is it important? There may be some thought out there that, why can't we just stick with traditional marketing tactics, whether it's a newspaper advertisement, magazine, billboard. What's wrong with the way we've been doing it? Well, the reason that content marketing matters, quite frankly, is because it's been proven to be effective, and your competitors are doing it. As these statistics say, 70% of B2B and 69% of B2C marketers are creating more content this year than they did a year ago. 86% of B2B and 77% of B2C companies use content marketing. Content marketing costs 62% less than traditional marketing, and it generates 3 times as many leads. Obviously, that is quite an attractive statistic. And if your competitors are taking advantage of content marketing and you're not, the fact is you're going to fall behind. And the average B2B marketer uses 13 content marketing tactics. B2C marketers use 11. Again, these are things that companies in your industry are already involved with. Using some of the tactics that I mentioned before, and we'll get into a little more later, which are, white papers, blogs, case studies, video, podcasts, all that stuff. One key, though, that I want to bring up with the statistic that was on the last slide, about 86% of B2B companies are doing it. Just because 86% of companies are doing it, that doesn't mean they're doing it well. So even if you're not involved in the content marketing space yet, even if you haven't implemented any of these tactics, if you start today and you create a strategy that works well, you can jump ahead of a lot of the competition right off the bat, because there are a lot of companies that say, okay, we're doing content marketing, but if you look at some of the other statistics, many are not following some of the best practices. They're not they're not integrating their strategy. They're not doing some of the things that make you successful in content marketing. So if you're able to jump on that bandwagon and get started with the proper strategy right away, you can kind of go from 0 to 60 in terms of where you relate to your competition very quickly, which is, of course, a great thing. So, here, let's get down to brass tacks, obviously, about what vehicles can I use in terms of, what are the elements that make up content marketing, right? So, starting with blogging, and before you guys throw tomatoes and rotten eggs at me because you know what blogging is already, there are a lot of different approaches you can take to blogging in terms of, ghostwriting for a CEO, a video blog, getting different perspectives from around your company, whether that's a product manager who's writing about your newest product launch or whatever it may be. It's a great way to get different perspectives, different authorship from across your company. And I think sometimes as well with blogging, one of the keys to remember is that there's sort of a misconception among a lot of people that, blogging is the kind of thing where, I have a great idea and let me go and post something randomly every week or 10 days, just whenever something comes to me, and that's good enough. And really, the way that you, engage customers with blogging is by planning everything out with an editorial calendar. You should know, what am I posting Tuesday? What am I posting Thursday? What am I posting next month that's relevant to my business goals? If I have a product launch coming out, how far in advance do I want to start blogging about it to optimize what, when we finally hit that launch date? These are all important things to remember. Editorial calendars are a great way to do that, to plan out your strategy and know exactly what you're doing. And that may seem like something that could be a little burdensome, but actually, once you get into a flow, when you have that content calendar, it actually makes everything easier because you know exactly where you're going. You have a goal for every blog post. You know what are you trying to teach the reader here? What value are you adding? And that's what a content calendar and planning does for you. White papers and case studies. These are obviously more involved assets, white papers, a lot of market research, and case studies that sort of illustrate, why a solution works. And these are great to gate. You obviously usually don't want to ask people for their information, just to read your blog or look at an infographic. But for some of these more detailed assets, it's great for lead capture because you can, gate them and ask for, company information, email addresses, all that good stuff. And, for a marketing automation platform where you need lead capture, these are great assets to use in that situation. Email marketing, it's, everybody's probably familiar with it, but the real key with email marketing is that, we're in a mobile world now, right? I mean, everybody in this room probably came here with a cell phone in their pocket, maybe more than one. And these, whether it's a newsletter or, a specific campaign to win back customers, whatever it might be, email marketing is a great way to get in touch with people, whether they're checking their phone on a train, whatever they may be doing. This is a way to reach people through mobile devices, which is, as everybody knows, critical today. Social media. Again, I think social media, just a little bit like blogging, there's sort of a misconception that, you can sort of hit on little quips or whatever it might be that, something funny, post when you feel like it, and we're all familiar with Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and some of the most popular sites. And again, there really is a lot of planning that should go into social media in terms of like how many times a day am I posting? How often should I be mentioning my own company versus industry news? These are things to think about and that help you optimize what you're doing in terms of social media. In terms of thinking about what platforms you want to use, and there are, almost an endless number out there now, right? It's really about your target audience. It's really about who you're trying to reach. And there is research available. There are consultants and brand experts that can help you figure that out. But it is important. It is something that you need to know because you're not going to realistically be using 50 different social media platforms and getting anything out of it. You need to concentrate on a few and do it well. Video production, this is something that we'll be offering later today, and I'll be actually doing some of the interviewing for video production. And again, this is sort of a little different way that you can do to give people a more intimate view of your company. You can have the CEO sit down and do a little 3-minute video, post it on your site, and give people some more insight into what your CEO is like, what that person is thinking about, trends in the industry, or what you have going on in your company. Same thing with a product manager, as I mentioned before. If you have a product launch, sometimes it's great to hear the passion from that person who created the product. And video is a great way to do that, to interview that person, put it up on the blog, and give people a first-hand look at, what's going on inside your company. Infographics, a great way if you want to make a complex point with an illustration, or you have a few big statistics that you want to drive home, with an illustration that captures the eye. I mean, we all know that visual elements tend to grab people's attention even more than text, and so infographics are a great way to do that. Podcasts, it's something that I love to do, and it's sort of akin to a radio broadcast. Again, you could sit down and interview somebody in your company, whether it's a member of the C-suite or whoever it might be, and that's a great asset that way. It's also, you could have a roundtable discussion with some of the people at your company who maybe it's a debate. Maybe you have some different perspectives on where an industry is going. These are things that people want to hear. Customers are looking to be educated, to have value added in their marketing, which is really the difference between traditional marketing and content marketing, is that you're adding value for the customer. You're teaching them something. You're getting them interested and engaged in a way that keeps them in contact with your company. Oh, and the list goes on. I don't know if you guys saw that, but. So here are a few ways that content marketing helps, and these are things that you can do, that content marketing helps you do, in some cases even more quickly than you might realize. Drives profitability, improves customer acquisition and retention, and that again goes back to the idea that you're educating people, you're adding value, you're getting people interested in your company as a whole, augments brand awareness, bolsters thought leadership, and that's, again, where you can maybe get somebody in your company who's the CEO or in the C-suite, somebody who is, can look ahead a year in the future for your industry to say, here's what I see happening. Thought leadership is key because, you want to be a company who's seen to know what's going to happen in the future, to know what's happening 6 months, a year out, rather than following your competitors. And improving SEO obviously is huge. The more quality your content, and the different algorithms now that Google and different search engines have now, it's based more on quality content than ever before, which is why it's much more difficult to fool these algorithms today than it was in the past with keyword stuffing and things like that. Where today it's more about how good is the content that you have on your web pages. So just a couple of questions to get us started, and then I'd like to open it up and hear from you guys, and if you have any questions or comments that you want to make. The first is, why is content marketing in and traditional marketing out? And I've sort of covered that to this point, but just to expand on it, traditional marketing doesn't really add value to the customer. With content marketing, you are teaching somebody about a new industry. You're getting people involved in thinking on a broader scale. And a lot of it, whether it's consumers or businesses, customers are doing more and more research on their own before they engage. They're not crazy about the idea of getting involved with your sales team immediately. They're on the web looking for, reviews of different companies, doing their own comparisons. And that's where content comes in. That's where you can differentiate yourself from another business who, makes a similar product or offers a similar service. That's where content marketing is key for those customers who are doing this work on their own before, they're completing maybe 70% of the process before they even reach out to your company. So if you think about that, what you're putting out there to those people is really key. And moving on, what are the most effective platforms to use? Sort of just in the same vein as social media, it really is about what your target audience is. There are a lot of platforms that are effective for different objectives. The key is to know what your objective is when you're choosing the platforms you're going to use. It's about careful planning. It's about research. It's about knowing, what demographics are most likely to engage with what platforms, and that's, that's something that allows you to create the most value possible from each platform. One of the most common mistakes that marketers make when it comes to content marketing. So just to emphasize a point again about planning, I think that's something that it can't be overstated, the importance. You need to be planning everything out with an editorial calendar to know exactly what your goals and objectives are along the way, regardless of the platform that you're using. It's not enough to just throw some copy together and, the idea that you're going to just throw it up on a website or and then leave it there for a month and that's going to keep people interested. It's not. Just think of it from your perspective. If you're checking out, a website, you're thinking of maybe buying a product, you go to that website, you see a blog post, you want to know what's going on, you go back 3 weeks later and the same blog post is sitting there. That's, it's not going to do it. It's not going to cut it. People are looking for more than that. The silo aspect, again, is a big mistake where people are not necessarily, even if they're using more than one platform, they're not integrating them in a way that allows each one to have maximum value. And I mentioned before, calls to action, which is a big thing. On your blog, you don't want the experience to end with the end of the blog post. You want that to lead to, download this white paper so you can capture the lead. Go watch this video so you learn more about the company. Whatever it might be, that's how you bring all these different platforms together to maximize the value. Quality content. That's something that I mentioned again with regard to SEO, but quality content is important because, again, it gives an impression about your company and customers want to be educated. They want to learn. And one of the big elements of quality copy is that it needs to be customized to your company, right? So, what works for one company isn't going to work for every company. Your company culture, if you're a suit and tie culture, you're going to want a different tone to your blog, to your different elements than a different company with a different tone might want. You want your message to be consistent, your tone to be consistent through every platform and everything that you do. And creating quality content is about not only writing well and creating interesting content, but it's also about customizing it for your business. And the last thing is just taking too much of a me approach, which is everything on your blog is about how great your company is. Every video is a member of your team and how great they are. You need a good mix, and if you're a startup, maybe you want to do a little more than that than a company that's established would. But you need to be tackling industry news. You need to be tackling trends. You need to establish yourself as a thought leader, and that takes going outside of just what your company is doing. It should be a nice mix of all of the above. So that's the end of my presentation, but I would like to open the floor to anybody who has any questions or wants to make any comments.
Yeah, could you define quality for me on the website as an SEO will look at it, as a search engine will actually look at it?
Well, I think the difference now is that a lot of it is about in the old days it was about keyword stuffing. It was about just popping in a lot of different things that the search engine would pick up on, and now the algorithms are able to sort of drill down more closely on what exactly is in your titles, in your blog post, the differentiation between what's on one page and what's on another page. Do you have the same thing across 10 different subpages on your site? Which is not what you want.
What do you mean by the same thing? You wouldn't do that because nobody would want to read 10 times the same stuff. So I'm not quite sure I understood that.
Well, you'd be surprised actually that there are a lot of websites that you'll see where you might have the same About Us page or the same thing and under different sections of the site, under different headers. I mean, you'd be surprised how much you could click on a drop-down menu and see something on some clients that we work with to the beginning, and then go to the next one and see the same thing underneath it. There are ways I can talk to you afterwards as well, also to sort of get it more in depth with it. But
I'm sure it's a complicated topic. I didn't mean to.
No. I totally understand it is, but I think that there are there are a lot of elements to it. But I think generally you're getting away from sort of trying to trick the search engine and adding value to your.
Yeah, I guess, and I don't want to drag you in and never even want to go, but I don't understand how repeating the same thing, that would just bring you up multiple times on a search engine, which is worthless. You want to be one search engine at the top.
Actually, what I'm saying is that would put you further down on the search engine. It would.
Okay, so they're looking at the number of times you mention something as a quality measure?
That's one thing with an algorithm that if you have the same post 10 different places on your site.
It isn't having repetition of certain keywords, like if you're meta.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we do at IT Expo that's great is live tweeting, which is you have you create a hashtag and you have people from the conference, attendees, who can post it. And what that does is it's not all coming from you. It's coming from your attendees, and you're showing people who work for whatever it is, 30 different companies who are at your conference and are interested in this session or that panel session. And I think that's a way to really keep, for lack of a better term, hitting people, hitting social media without it looking like you're saturating everything. And that's. I just, sorry to interrupt this great conversation, but do want to keep the day moving along because we have some other great speakers. We're at 10:45, we're getting the boss to say yes to content marketing, and then I got the yes. How do I get started? Those are the two seminars that are coming up. I think we're going to have a little bit of a break now. As Carrie mentioned before, all the Content Boost folks will be around during the day. If you have any questions, you want to stop by and chat, more than happy to do it. So thank you all for being here and for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of the day as well.